Okay, so I was born in England, raised by Jamaican parents. Mom didn't like give us a choice and say, hey, you want to move to America? America was rough for me, bullying. I was just a fish out of water. I was a fish out of water. My mother's the hoarder, the money hoarder, but she would hide money under the carpet in hot water bottles. She was a money hoarder. And she took my piggy bank and hurled it at him, and it hit him in his forehead. If I hadn't started doing the inner work to find out why what was I always broke, and then started to realize that I had this wound from a child, that's huge.
I want to welcome Charmin Moore to Seeds of Awakening. I want to thank Charmin, first of all, for agreeing to do this. This is our second time giving this a shot. So thanks again and good to see you, Charmin.
Absolutely good to see you too. Second time this week.
I know, right?
We are doing this. We are doing this.
So let's get right into it. Let's talk about your background, how you were raised, and sort of your how you were brought up and where you're from, that sort of thing.
Okay, so I was born in England.
Wow.
Yeah, raised by Jamaican parents, and was stayed in England till I was about 10 or 11, and then came to the United States where I met all of my family. In England, I didn't know, we didn't have any family there, just my mother and my father and my brother. And once we moved to the States, I had aunts and uncles and all kinds of cool cousins, lots of cousins. So it was a great fit from that perspective, but not necessarily what I wanted. I would have rather stayed in England. Mom didn't like give us a choice and say, hey, you want to move to America? It was just one day up and here we were. And it was rough. America was rough for me, bullying. Um, I was different language, different accent. Um, we moved around a lot, and that was hard. And it's mostly I moved around a lot because my mother was always trying to find her footing. Where was the best place for us? I was a child prodigy, so that was difficult. Because you're just a kid, you don't know, and really, 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 really smart at that time. And I was just a fish out of water. I was a fish out of water.
So your parents are Jamaican, so they moved from Jamaica to England and then the United States. That's kind of the flow.
That's the flow because Jamaica was a British colony until
Right.
1968.
So were
So
your parents Christian? Was it a strict background that you were raised? How were you raised?
no, my parents were not Christian. However, once I came to America, my grandmother was, and my biological father, who I met in the United States, is a pastor.
Mhm.
So he was a pastor. He's passed now, but so he was a pastor. So immediately, my grandmother kind of, you know, took us under her wing and was like, "Okay, you're going to be Christian." And so we had to go to church on Saturdays. She was Seventh Day Church of God, and no makeup, no jewelry, no pants, no this, that's,
Was
all
it
of that.
Adventist? Was it Seventh-day Adventist?
You know, it's a,
Oh,
I won't say it's a spinoff because I don't think that's the right terminology. It's comes from the same ideology,
same lineage, right?
ideology, but it's more Pentecostal in nature, but it's Seventh Day. So,
Gotcha.
um, so when you're with your grandmother, you're a Christian, you got to go to church, and then when you go home to your parents, you don't have to because they don't take you to church. But I took it real serious. So I studied the Bible. I read it cover to cover. Well, by the time I was 12, I'd read it cover to cover twice. And as a grown up, I went to church myself, took the kids to church, and settled on going to church on Sundays. I'm sure that, they felt I was going to go to hell for that, but that I found a church that I really loved. And I started going to church on Sundays and actually learned a lot more about Jesus, God, um, than I'd ever before as a teenager in my 20s, by going to church under Pastor Isaac Thomas. I just loved him. He was a powerful, um, God-fearing. He definitely got the messages, and he was definitely inspired. Um,
So I know that now you have more of a spiritual leaning. When did you start having spiritual inclinations, or um, when did you get sort of an idea that there was more out there than just the Bible, if that makes sense?
Oh, God, yes, it makes a lot of sense. About 2004 or five. Um, I'd had I'd had some pretty disappointing experiences in the church, um, but still loved my relationship with the divine, and just felt like I outgrew the need to go to the four walls. And I tell you, when I was in the four walls, I could, there's a lot of things that I could hear, see, and do. And a pastor said to me, you have the fivefold gifts. You've got the apostle, the pastor, the evangelist, the prophet. You have all those things. And he says, you're going to have to look at that someday. And he bought me a book by Colette Toach. And he said, read this book and you'll see what I mean. And I read the book from cover to cover. And I knew I was never going to operate with these gifts inside the church. I knew I was never interested in that. But as I started reading this book, I was like, I have these spiritual gifts. Whether I go to church or not, I have these spiritual gifts. They didn't come from there. I didn't even, right? Even though he had noticed them in me and told me about them, he noticed them just from having conversations over the years with me. So I've been going to church less and less, but my hunger for spiritual growth grew more and more. And so I started reading things like Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, Florence Scovel Shinn actually was my very first real. Florence Scovel Shinn loved the Bible,
And
and
where
she
does
wrote
your
it,
wand?
yes, and the Game of Life.
Hmm.
And she wrote the Game of Life with the Bible as the basis for the book. But she brought the Bible from a totally different, and it resonated with me on such a deep level that I exploded. Like I exploded. And that's when I decided to become a life coach. So then I had, the game of life in one hand and the life coach, spiritual coach in the other. And I just started, and my life just totally turned around. When I say it totally turned around. When I honed my gifts as my own and started using them outside the four walls to heal the planet, I just started. I met you around that time, you know. And I would get messages, and I would have to get up in the middle of the night and write and write and write. I just exploded. So yeah. So to this day, Florence, my love for the Bible has never changed, and Florence anchored that for me. So that I wasn't giving up the Bible. I was just giving up the notion that I needed to go and galvanize or gather all the time with people. And it is wonderful. Being with the collective in praise and worship is a wonderful, wonderful experience. I just don't need to do it every week. I don't need to do it. I'm still committed to healing the planet with the gifts that God gave me. So I don't have I don't feel the pressure to do that, and I used to.
How does your life coaching? I know you're a life coach. You actually coach life coaches. How
Yes,
does
I
it
do.
play into this whole mission to heal the planet?
I've literally shifted as far as being a coach to my mindset around abundance. I realized that from 2005 to now, I've become extremely abundant. And it started with my awakening. And so I know in the Bible, it says he's no respecter of persons. So I know that that is not just for me. Like anybody can do it. And I want as many people as possible that feel like they are not quite where they want to be in the fullness of all that they came here, that their birthright is. I've figured that out. I've actually figured it out, not just for myself, but I figured it out for others that are on the same frequency as me. And I want to get that message out to them and say, this is what I figured out around you coming here and getting what is yours by divine right. So once I started writing about that, that's how I ended up with, the course, and I started with the course is the Abundance Quest, so that people can that are on the same frequency, because you and I are obviously on the same frequency. This is the
Right.
reason why we're co-creating at this time in this place. It'll be the same thing for
I,
those that are hearing.
I feel like it might be the reason why we connected many years back because lo and behold, I was watching on Instagram. I was like, I think Charmin is on the same vibration. And lo and behold, you definitely were.
Yes, that's how it works. We're not for everybody, but we are for those that we are called to, and vice versa. And all I'm trying to do is reach those people that are assigned to me and I'm assigned to them. It could be for 5 minutes, it could be for 5 hours, it could be five years. But I want to leave here empty and give out everything that I'm supposed to give on the planet, because I have definitely been given something for the people that are looking for it.
Mhm. Talk about the abundance and how that whole school of thought and how that whole teaching method has sort of helped others and how it also applies to you.
So, abundance is different things, not just money. It's not just, because when people hear abundance, the first thing they think is money and all of that. But it's relationships, you know, it's the sun, the moon, the stars. It's all those things. And I don't like being broke. I don't like feeling not enough.
Feeling
I don't
lack.
I don't like it.
I don't think
Okay.
anybody really likes it.
Right. But we accept it as a norm, and it is not the norm. It is not. As babies, we came here perfect, whole, complete, and abundant. I don't care what situation you were born in, you were given a clean slate. It's just that you unlearn it. That's what it is. So, all I'm here to do is bring you back to your natural state, remind you that you are an abundant being. Look at the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, mother nature. We are part of that ecosystem. That's who we are. It's abundant out there. You
You
are
know,
part of the ecosystem.
when you mentioned that, I think about like the birds and they don't have to pay for rent and like animals live freely. It's like, why don't
Right.
humans have the same freedoms really?
We've definitely there's always a human being that wants to be better than another human being.
Hmm.
And then we start believing that and start taking that on. It's when we step out of the matrix, right, and go, okay, no, 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 wait a minute. That's not true.
We're all
This
the
is not.
same, we're all equal.
Yes, 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 yes. And You may not be able to see, you may not be able to, say, this is mine in the 3D, but you can certainly figure it out and get it done in the 5D. Not only is it effective, it's just that we're taught not to daydream. We're taught so many of these things. Stop daydreaming. I was in school, I used to daydream like crazy. I thought, and when the teacher would say, stop daydreaming, you think that you're doing something wrong, but why are you daydreaming? You're connecting to the divine, you're getting messages, you're seeing things from a completely different lens, you're leaving the 3D. That's what we were supposed to do.
Yeah, you're in tune with our higher self and getting messages and connecting with the other realm.
Yes, we were doing it as children. It's very natural for children. And we have to return to that state in order to manifest our abundance. But that's fun. Do you know how much fun it is to daydream? Do you know how much fun it is to it's wonderful. So that's why children do it because it's wonderful.
I was going to say most adults have forgotten that though, but it comes naturally for kids.
Yes. But
Mhm.
that is one of the ways to start to raise your vibrational energy is to go back to dreaming, is to go is because that's real. See, your dreams, your daydreams are real. They tell you that they're not, but they are. They're real. Once I once I stopped believing, like somebody said to me, you just believe in fairy tales and this and that, and you're just Pollyanna. And I thought that that was a bad thing. So I gave that up, right? And one day, 10 years later, I come to myself. And the Bible says he came to himself. I come to myself and I said, just because they say daydreams are not real, fairy tales are not real, doesn't mean that I have to accept that school of thought. I'm going back to my natural state. I'm going back to Pollyanna. And guess what? Pollyanna was the one that had the secret. I just started mushrooming the joy, the gratitude, and the stuff that I always had as Pollyanna. Poof. I went straight past all those people that said none of that stuff existed. All I had to do was believe and start acting on it. There was a lot of unlearning I had to do. There was a lot of rewiring of the brain. I had to read Florence 50 times or put her on tape, right? Back in
Mhm.
the day, listen to her in the car. I listened to the game of life 50 times minimum to rewire my brain. That's just one of the many things. I wrote, I journaled. When I got a flash of intelligence from the divine, I acted on it. Even if it thought this must be crazy, I would do it.
What
Or
effect did that have on your abundance once you rewire your mind, and how do you help others do the same now?
crypto, I love crypto. I started really doing well in crypto. Stocks. Somebody would come up and say, "Oh, I'm going to sell my stock." And I would say, "You're going to sell your stock? What stock?" The stock we get from the job. Well, your stock we get from the job. Well, how do you do that? She was like, "You've got a Fidelity account. Look in there." I look in there. There are tens of thousands of dollars in there that I knew nothing about. Opportunities come to you, just miraculous things just from starting to raise your vibrational energy and being open to the possibility that you are abundant. Keeping your mind closed is the quickest way to have nothing happen. What is it going to what is it going to harm you? To open your mind to the fact that maybe I did come here abundant. Maybe I was having these daydreams. I did think that I wanted to be an artist. I did want to go speak. I did want to do this. That was the divine saying that you had a natural gift in that, and that's where your gifts make room for you. And it's already planned and already ready for you. Let's act on it. If I don't, when I don't violate a hunch, like Florence says, never violate a hunch. I get intuitive flashes of ideas. I act on them. Those are simple things you can do. Simple. There's a lot of other internal work, and that's what we do. We peel back the layers. What did you learn as a kid about money? What did you learn about abundance? Peel those back. Is it true? Is it, all those things? Undo them. We have to undo them. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money, there are no streets of gold. And they develop a money archetype from that. They develop either money hoarder, the money monk, the money avoider, or the money spender. You know, if they were never given money, no, you can't have it. What do you think I am? Made of money, this and that and the other. There are people that now every time they get some money, they get really happy and they spend it because nobody ever let them spend any money,
Mhm.
right?
I
So
feel like
they
this is a
never.
good time to talk about the app. How can those lessons you just share with us, how can people find and get some advice from you and learn from you?
The Abundance Quest app. It's on both Android and the iPhone. So, you know, just download it. If you put the Abundance in the App Store, it immediately comes up. And there's podcasts, and you can ping me on there, and you know, at Charmin, you know, how could I get more information? You can email me, I am Charmin at Gmail. You can go to my website, iamcharmin.com. Instagram, iamcharmin.coach. So my brand is I am Charmin because I believe in speaking I am into my life. I
Mhm.
live and breathe what I train my coaches and my clients. I live and breathe it, and it works. Absolutely works.
Charmin, I'm curious, you still consider yourself a Christian?
That's a good question. I don't think I consider myself a Christian. I don't. Um,
But you feel like your form of worship is still acceptable to the Creator?
oh yes, absolutely. And the reason why I say that is look at the results. Look at the fruit, right? Look at the fruit. You know, look at the abundant life the person lives. Don't believe what they say. Look at the fruit. So that is how I know that I am on track. You know, that's my parents still. God, my parents are both 87. They live with me. I care for them. I have an amazing marriage with my wonderful husband, my kids, my grandchild, right? You know, my abundance quest. I mean, look at the results of my spiritual walk. Don't look at what I say. Look at my results of my spiritual walk. That's how I can hear you say whatever, but I'll look at what your spiritual walk has produced. Look at what your spiritual walk has produced.
So, what would you say to someone who's like having challenges raising their vibration or attracting abundance in their life, or they want to be a better manifester?
I would say at least download the app and get some information. You'll get the free ebook. It'll tell you a little bit more about what that's like. See if you're in alignment with it. See if you're doing some of the things that is suggested, right? See if you're on track. You know, there's a lot of free resources out there. If you are not getting what you want, then you're still not yet a vibrational match to what you want, because you have to be a vibrational match. If self does not believe you, you're not going to. If you say, I want to be, I'm a millionaire. I want to be a million. I want to be a millionaire, but you don't believe that you can be one. It will never happen. You have to be a vibrational match to what you want right now. And that's hard to do at first when you just don't know what you don't know. And I was there. I didn't know what I didn't know. Once I started to get it though, I saw the results and I see them to this day.
I want to talk about your life coach, coaching life coaches, and you're going to get back into that as well. I want to talk about how people can learn more about that.
Absolutely. So I was a life coach trainer, you know, from 2005 to like 2012. And my life was so busy and I was doing both. You know, I love corporate, my corporate job anyway. I love it because I get to train and coach physicians and travel around the world. So I love it. And so I always did both. But that being the case, it got so busy traveling internationally, I could not do both. And I was going in. Like I was doing live coaching training sessions, 5 day intensives. Plus, I was doing it on the phone. Plus, I was traveling to Europe. So I had to dial it back. So I was like, okay, I'll give up the coach training, and you know, because corporate was, I was still, they hired the coach, the corporate hired the coach. So I always get her in. If I couldn't get her in, then of course, I don't think I'd be able to make it. But the coach gets to work every day. She gets to empower people every day. So my corporate job has always allowed me to be a coach. So that being the case, I gave that up, but it has just started eating away at me. I'm getting the messages again at night, and people are reaching out to me going, I want to be a coach, and I only want to be a coach by you. Can't you please start that back up? So, again, when you get these messages, act. So I absolutely did resurrect the Global Coaching Training. GCI, Global Coaching Institute, is my company. I've had it since 2010. And so I rewrote the manual with abundance weaved all the way through it so that when my coaches are being coached, they're also understanding vibrational energy and abundance. Because when you become a life coach for the first time and you graduate, um, if you still have money wounds and things like that, which most people, because you're going out into the entrepreneur world, and that is a hero's journey. That is, you got to be ready for it. You got to be ready for the hero's journey. Well, they have the fear. They have the fear of failure, fear of this, fear of that. And this manual, while you're learning to be a life coach, you also learn how to face your fears and what's holding you back and what kind of money archetype are you. We do all of that. So you get two for one, you get all of that, which you would have had to take, coaching sessions with me or do the abundance quest. You actually get the abundance quest inside the course. I'm very proud of it. I'm very excited for everybody that uh, decides to be a life coach in this arena now. You get a two for one. You get to learn about abundance and how you can be more abundant so that when you graduate, you're like ready to hit the ground running from a different vibrational frequency with your own coaching business, whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah, a lot of folks have a fear of charging people and really
Yeah,
charging what they're worth in a lot of ways. So that probably helps them conquer those fears in a lot of ways.
absolutely. It hits all of that, but it hits it because I used to do that before, but I would just talk about it. I never taught anybody how to raise their frequency to match that of abundance, whatever that looks like for you, how to conquer the fear. It's one thing to say, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's another thing to learn where that fear came from and make peace with that fear. Give it a name. And when you feel it, know that that's the little girl or the little boy just coming to stop you, but they're really trying to protect you. That's normal. We're used to that. But that created the money avoider. And these are the behaviors you've been showing up with for the last 30 years. I'm talking about myself because that's my archetype. I am a recovering money avoider. And I avoided money at all costs, even though you say you want it. You say you want money, you're working hard for it every day, but it eludes you because you're avoiding it. You're avoiding anything to do with it. You don't look at the bank account. You don't look at you don't want to look at the checks. You don't want to open your bills. You're an avoider, you
Explain the
know.
different archetypes that are out there. There's the money avoider. What else is there? There's the
Money monk,
hoarder.
money is bad, evil. Money is bad, evil. The spender and the hoarder or the saver, but we call them the hoarder. You're hoarding money. Yeah, those are the four. I call it MASH. Monk, avoider, spender, hoarder.
Which one is the monk? Explain the monk.
The one that says that money is bad or evil. You
Okay.
know, money is the root of all evil. You know,
And then through your program, it helps you get rid of whatever kind of archetype that you are and attract that abundance to you.
right? And you don't get rid of them. You never get rid of them, but
Mm.
you shine the light on them. The biggest thing that happened is the awareness comes right in and shines the light on it, and you're like, whoa, okay.
Where do those
Thank
archetypes come from? Are they from our parents? Are they just instilled in us? Are they
Yes,
society?
yes, from childhood. Same thing. Money doesn't grow on trees, this and that and the other. Or my mother mm, is a hoarder. My mother's the hoarder, the money hoarder. And it's funny because you don't see that in other areas of her life. But she would hide money under the carpet, in hot water bottles. She was a money hoarder and it made her feel really, really good. But when she had trouble where my dad would find the money and take it, it would throw her into a rage
Mhm.
because she's hoarding it, right? That's her safety. And then I would see that kind of behavior and anger, and that kind of explosive energy just created a fear in me that money was something of caused conflict. So I wanted to avoid it. So where she is the hoarder, she then created an avoider in me.
There's also a piggy bank incident with you when you were a child, when you were younger with your father. Could you explain that?
Same, yeah, same thing. Same, it was the same idea. He, um, they had the argument around money. He probably found her money, decided that he was gonna take off with it, and she took my piggy bank and hurled it at him, and it hit him in his forehead, broke the piggy bank, and blood everywhere. And then me as a child trying to clean him up and, just scrambling around, and she's screaming and I'm crying and he's sitting there with blood running down his face, you know, is my earliest memory of conflict with money.
Had to be traumatic to be a child, have your piggy bank injure your father. It must have left some sort of money trauma with you.
Who knew? That is the thing. That is what I really want people to understand. If I hadn't started doing the inner work to find out what was I always broke, and then started to realize that I had this wound from a child, that's huge. That's huge. Everybody, when I tell everybody when we do this work, the first thing I want to know is what's your earliest relationship, any early memories? Because I had never thought of that memory until I was asked. But it's in there. That child is in there. That child is with you for the rest of your life, and that child can tell you some things and help you heal so that you can move forward.
And it is all about healing. All right, so let's jump into our speed round. Um, let's see here. So I'm going to go through a couple questions that I ask all my guests. The first one is, what does awakening mean to you?
Awakening means to me that I start to come back to myself. I awaken to all the possibilities of charm. That's what awakening means to me. Before that, I'm just go to school, get a good education, get married, have children, and then all of a sudden I awaken.
Live in the
And
matrix, pay bills,
right, wait a minute.
taxes.
Yeah, there's more to this than this. Wait a minute, there's more going on here. And then I'm like, okay, I'm awake. And I look around and I see things differently.
Hmm, very powerful. All right, so what's the most important lesson that you've learned in life?
Hmm. Hmm. Most important lesson in life. I think the most important lesson in life is that if I'm good, and everybody else around me can be good. I used to think about everybody else first and care for everybody else first, and it was selfish to think about myself. But boy, when I made charm the center of my life, like like things took off, everybody else is so much better. So as selfish as that may sound, it's the secret. I am the center of my own life.
Mhm.
And I take care of that center first. The rest is gravy.
It's a great lesson.
Mhm.
My last question is, what would be your advice to someone who's going through a spiritual awakening, or they're just starting to question things, or maybe looking at things a little bit differently? What would you say to them?
If you're getting what you need, then keep going. If you're not getting what you need, then get a coach or somebody else to help you with it. I was very fortunate. I did not know that when I started awakening, I went to to be a life coach, and I started getting help. But that was that's first by design, divine design for sure. I had help for like, I don't know, like 9 months because I was going to coaching classes every single week. I got amazing help, and it helped me to understand and awaken and have guidance. So you got to get help. You got to find out all the gifts and everything. And you need an objective objective help with that. Yeah.
Hmm. And Charmin, let me ask you this. If someone wants to get in touch with you or learn more about you or your app or your coaching, where should they go?
I'd love for people to go straight to the app, the Abundance Quest, but hit me up on IG. Um, it's a great place. I read my DMs, so if you DM me on IG, if you can, do that. But if you can definitely download on the app and ping me on the app at Charmin, and I'll get it that way too. But like I said, I got email, I got website, I got everything. You can find me. I'm Charmin. You can find me. Facebook, Instagram. Not hard to find for sure.
Charmin, it's been a pleasure. I'm so glad we were able to reconnect in the second take two of this interview.
Take two.
And I'll
Take two.
definitely be in touch with you because there's so much that I can learn from you and that you have to give.
Absolutely. I'm here for you always.